A surprise initiative. Trump's peace push in the Saudi desert. The world watches with bated breath as an unexpected diplomatic effort unfolds in the heart of the Middle East. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, in a move that has surprised many international observers, has taken the initiative to assemble a team to mediate peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. The chosen venue for these high-stakes negotiations is Saudi Arabia, a country known for its strategic importance and history of diplomatic engagement in the region. While the exact date and the composition of Trump's team remain shrouded in secrecy, the very fact that these talks are taking place signals a potential turning point in the ongoing conflict. The world is now looking towards the Saudi desert, where the future of Ukraine, and perhaps even the balance of power in Europe, hangs in the balance. The initiative for these talks reportedly stemmed from a phone call between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, the details of which are still largely unknown. What is clear, however, is that Trump perceives this as an opportunity to achieve what has eluded world leaders for so long, a peaceful resolution to the Russia-Ukraine war. His optimism, however, is tempered by the complex realities on the ground, realities that have stymied previous attempts at negotiation. The conflict, now in its second year, has resulted in significant casualties and displacement, with no end in sight. The question on everyone's mind is whether this time, under the auspices of a Trump-led initiative, a breakthrough can be achieved. The choice of Saudi Arabia as the venue for these talks is significant for several reasons. Firstly, it underscores the kingdom's growing influence on the global stage and its willingness to play a more active role in mediating international disputes. Secondly, Saudi Arabia maintains working relationships with both Russia and Ukraine, placing it in a unique position to facilitate dialogue. Finally, holding the talks in a neutral location, far from the battlefields of Ukraine, could potentially foster a more conducive environment for meaningful discussions. Whether this calculated risk will pay off remains to be seen. The stakes are undeniably high, with the potential for these talks to either pave the way for a lasting peace or to further entrench the existing divisions. The international community, particularly European leaders who have been at the forefront of supporting Ukraine, are watching these developments with a mixture of hope and apprehension. As the world waits for the talks to commence, the question remains: can this initiative, spearheaded by a former U.S. president, succeed where others have failed? The answer to this question will have profound implications for the future of Ukraine, Russia, and the wider international order. At the heart of the upcoming peace talks lie a complex web of interconnected issues, each presenting a formidable challenge to any lasting agreement. Central among these is the issue of territorial integrity, a fundamental principle of international law that has been severely tested by the ongoing conflict. Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its continued control over parts of eastern Ukraine remain major stumbling blocks to any peaceful resolution. Ukraine, understandably, demands the full restoration of its territorial integrity, a position supported by the international community but vehemently opposed by Russia. The question of how to address these territorial disputes, which go to the very core of the conflict, will be a key test for any negotiated settlement. Adding another layer of complexity to the situation is Ukraine's aspiration to join NATO, a move that has been met with fierce resistance from Russia. Moscow views NATO expansion as a direct threat to its security interests and has repeatedly warned against it. Ukraine, on the other hand, sees NATO membership as the only way to guarantee its security in the face of Russian aggression. This fundamental disagreement over Ukraine's future security architecture has been a major source of tension between Russia and the West, further complicating the search for a peaceful resolution. Finding a compromise on this highly sensitive issue, one that addresses both Ukraine's security concerns and Russia's strategic anxieties, will be crucial for any lasting peace. Beyond the immediate territorial and security concerns, the issue of security guarantees for Ukraine in a post-conflict scenario looms large. Ukraine, having experienced firsthand the devastating consequences of Russian aggression, seeks robust and legally binding security guarantees that would prevent a repeat of the current crisis. These guarantees, it is argued, would need to be credible and enforceable, potentially involving a combination of international organizations and individual states. The question of who will provide these guarantees and under what conditions remains a point of contention. The upcoming talks in Saudi Arabia will need to grapple with these complex and interconnected issues, seeking a delicate balance between competing interests and aspirations. Finding solutions that address the core concerns of both Russia and Ukraine, while also upholding the principles of international law and regional security, will be a monumental task. The outcome of these negotiations will have far-reaching consequences, not just for the future of Ukraine, but for the future of Europe and the international order as a whole. The surprise announcement of US-mediated peace talks between Russia and Ukraine to be held in Saudi Arabia has sent ripples of concern and consternation through European capitals. Many European leaders feel sidelined by this unexpected diplomatic maneuver, expressing anxieties about being excluded from a process with such high stakes for European security. The lack of prior consultation and the potential for a deal that prioritizes American interests over European concerns have fueled a sense of unease and distrust. This perceived slight comes at a time when transatlantic relations are already strained, further complicating the West's response to the ongoing crisis. The exclusion of European leaders from these crucial negotiations has sparked a flurry of diplomatic activity as they scramble to formulate a unified response. French President Emmanuel Macron, in a move that underscores the gravity of the situation, has called for an emergency summit of European leaders in Paris. The summit, scheduled to take place just days before the proposed talks in Saudi Arabia, will bring together key European players, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, and leaders from Germany, Italy, and Poland. The primary objective of this hastily arranged gathering is to forge a common European position on the US-led peace initiative, and to explore ways to reassert European influence in the ongoing negotiations. European concerns about the US-led peace initiative stem from a number of factors. Firstly, there is a deep-seated fear that any agreement reached without European involvement could come at the expense of Ukrainian interests, potentially forcing Kiev to make unacceptable concessions to Moscow. This concern is particularly acute given the perceived pro-Russian leanings of some members of Trump's team, raising fears of a deal that could legitimize Russia's territorial gains and undermine Ukrainian sovereignty. Secondly, European leaders worry that a separate peace deal, brokered by the US without European participation, could create divisions within the Western alliance, weakening the collective response to Russian aggression. The European Union, already grappling with internal divisions and facing criticism for its handling of the Ukraine crisis, is now under immense pressure to present a united front. The outcome of the emergency summit in Paris will be closely watched, as it could potentially determine the future direction of European foreign policy and the transatlantic relationship. The stakes are high and the clock is ticking. As the world holds its breath, the question remains: can Europe bridge its internal divides and reassert its influence on the global stage, or will it be relegated to the sidelines of a conflict that threatens the very foundations of European security? The selection of Saudi Arabia as the venue for the upcoming peace talks between Russia and Ukraine is no accident. It reflects the kingdom's growing diplomatic clout on the world stage and its long history of mediating conflicts in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. Saudi Arabia, often referred to as the guardian of the two holy mosques, has long sought to position itself as a neutral arbiter in regional disputes, leveraging its religious authority, economic influence, and strategic location to foster dialogue and diffuse tensions. This latest effort to mediate between Russia and Ukraine is a testament to Saudi Arabia's enduring commitment to peacemaking and its ambition to play a more prominent role in shaping the global order. Saudi Arabia's history of mediation in the Middle East is both long and complex. From mediating internal conflicts in Lebanon and Yemen to facilitating dialogue between rival Palestinian factions, the kingdom has consistently sought to leverage its influence to promote peace and stability in its neighborhood. In recent years, Saudi Arabia has also played a more active role in international affairs, engaging in diplomatic efforts to resolve the Syrian civil war, mediate between Qatar and its Gulf neighbors, and address the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. This latest foray into international diplomacy, seeking to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine, represents a significant escalation of Saudi Arabia's global ambitions. It is important to note that Saudi Arabia's track record as a mediator is not without its blemishes. Critics often point to the kingdom's own human rights record and its controversial involvement in the Yemen conflict as evidence of its willingness to prioritize its own strategic interests over broader humanitarian concerns. Despite these criticisms, however, Saudi Arabia's diplomatic efforts have often yielded tangible results. contributing to the peaceful resolution of numerous conflicts and preventing further bloodshed. The upcoming peace talks between Russia and Ukraine will test Saudi Arabia's diplomatic skills like never before. The stakes are high, the issues complex, and the international context fraught with tension. Success in this endeavor could cement Saudi Arabia's reputation as a global peacemaker, enhancing its standing on the world stage and bolstering its claim to a leadership role in the Middle East. Failure, on the other hand, could damage the kingdom's credibility and further complicate efforts to find a peaceful solution to the Ukraine crisis. As the world watches with bated breath, the question remains, can Saudi Arabia, drawing on its long history of mediation and diplomatic expertise, help bring about a lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine? Only time will tell.